Naruto is a series where you can have so many hot takes. I mean, just general opinion is something that can vary so widely on this show, but I feel like it's fairly easy to say that one of the most popular characters ever in the series is Rock Lee. I mean, it's simple. He's just wickedly popular. He has cool abilities, he's wicked nice, he's an interesting character, his story isn't flat. He's absolutely a great character. And yet, the hot take that I'm going to go with in this episode is that he's underrated. No, really, he is. And the way that he's underrated is not by the audience, because, as I said, fan favorite. No, he's underrated by the writers of Boruto and Naruto, but especially Boruto. And that's because Lee is almost a forgotten character. He started being forgotten in Shippuden, but that really got worse and worse and worse until I think the only reason they keep him around is because if he doesn't appear every once in a while, people mail angry letters. And I don't think you convince me that isn't what happens. So, why don't we take some time out and really dissect why this character should be way more relevant and is way more interesting than he's usually portrayed as? To start with, who is Rock Lee? You know who he is. He's Bushy Brow. He's the beautiful green beast of the leaf. He is the one kid on this entire show who can't use ninjutsu, and to an extent genjutsu. He's only able to beat you up with his fists, but he does it so fast, he makes people who can bend forests shiver in fear. And because of that, he is arguably one of the biggest staples of the series, the concept that hard work can yield fantastic results. If anything, he's kind of one of the few remaining markers of this, because for some reason, when we went to the idea of using, ninja gods and vast reincarnations, that whole idea kind of disappeared. But it doesn't have to, and Lee is still there. So, what do we look at with Lee that we can maybe utilize throughout the rest of the series? I think the first one to look at is what his role in the story was versus what people wanted it to be. His role in the story was to essentially be the indication to Naruto that hard work can get you far, but it can also let you down. This is not the greatest message, and one that I think Kishimoto did try and amend with things like Tsunade's emergency surgery, but it is definitely the overall left impression. I mean, he never really rises to the same level later that he kind of did in his fight against Gaara, which is too bad. I feel like his fight later with Kimimaro with Gaara should have been a higher point, but we'll get to that. Anyway, what he is to many is the symbol of hard work being progressive, that you can always make a difference if you're willing to put in that effort. And that's the thing that I think they should bring back most of all with Lee. But moving on, let's go ahead and look at what he can do and what we could use with that. I think among any ninja, Lee is probably one of the hardest to place, yet easiest to categorize, because his whole category is taijutsu. He does not use ninjutsu, he does not use genjutsu, he does not use any other form of sage art or anything like that. It is purely putting his fist into things and making it hurt. So he is by far and away probably the best close combat fighter in the entire village. And yes, I know I'm supposed to say Naruto's that because he's the main character, but no, not even close. Lee is a better taijutsu user than Naruto is, hands down. And if Naruto didn't use any of his special abilities, Lee would absolutely thump him across the village. So, with that in mind, he really would make a great teacher. I mean, think about it. Might Guy was a great teacher. He basically trained Neji, who was a child prodigy, who he didn't share any skills with. He had to basically give encouragement to a kid who had this whole array of abilities that he didn't have access to. And he took Tenten, a character whose greatest ability is invisibility, at least for the camera, and turned her into a kenjutsu specialist. Now, we don't have great examples of that in the series, but, give us time, we'll fan fury our way into one of them. But over time, it's clear to say that if you were to compare her to a bunch of regular ninja, she's way better with weapons than they ever could be. So, if Guy was a great teacher, and Lee is very similar to Guy, then Lee should be a great teacher too. Plus, his fundamentals are hard work wins out. That is perfect for teaching. and it's the first thing that I would do with him. I mean, Metal Lee seems really cool. I haven't actually watched all that much of Boruto, so I'm a little limited on it, but he seems interesting. But I don't think Lee needed a kid, especially since he doesn't have any pre-existing relationship with anyone, any partner, or any family. So wouldn't it make more sense to give him a ninja team? Any ninja team, but maybe especially Boruto's team? I mean, don't get me wrong, I know Konohamaru is important as team leader, but Konohamaru should actually be with Team 10 because, Inoshiko Cho. So if you were going to put anyone else with Boruto, Lee is perfect. He's like his dad, but he had to work a lot harder to get his abilities. And, since Boruto does not have the overwhelming chakra pool of only being half Uzumaki and having Karama, it would actually make sense to give him a teacher who, kind of like Konohamaru, wasn't born with this infinitesimally ever expanding power that really predetermined everything for him. And I think that that really showcases what Lee can do. I mean, it also makes sense because Sarada kind of inherits her mother's super strength in a lot of ways because she spends more time with her than her dad. And also, with the Sharingan, she could easily copy his taijutsu moves. And, it's a bit difficult to say with their third member how that would go. I'd have to do a lot more time considering that. But, 2 out of 3 is not bad. So, with that in mind, that's great for his teaching, but what else could they do with him? I mean, teachers are usually also expected to be primary fighters in the Leaf, and would he be able to hold up to that? In short, yes. I mean, very much yes. He's an absolute beast at taijutsu, and as we saw during Konoha Crush, that can get you far. Guy was the only other one next to Kakashi in the arena who was holding his own against all of the Sound Ninja and Sand Ninja. There's really no way of getting around the fact that those two were the best fighters in that whole area and probably outpaced a lot of the village guard that were still awake. So, yeah, I mean, he'd absolutely be there. And plus, if we're being really frankly honest, even though I haven't done that much research in watching of Boruto, I do know that Lee should have absolutely bodied Momoshiki. If your main ability is to absorb ninjutsu and a guy just throws his fist at you, you're gonna lose because you have absolutely no way to block it. Look at Neji. It doesn't matter how good you are at blocking everything else if you have a glass jaw. So, really, Lee should be much more important. He would be a fantastic teacher, and he would be a fantastic guard for the village. Plus, I feel like, especially now, in the stage in which Naruto and Boruto have come to, this whole thing has just gotten to a darker stage. Lee serves as a perfect counterbalance to that. His naturally positive, optimistic attitude would be fantastic, and I think it would be vital to have that back in the series. But let me know, what would you guys do with Lee to make him more relevant, and are there any other characters you'd like to see this done with? I mean, there are a lot of people in Konoha that we could look at, but let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.